Ever feel like you're running on fumes? Like you're constantly giving and giving, but not getting anything back?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, whether it's a job that just leaves you feeling drained, a friendship that's kind of one-sided, or even just like that overflowing closet, the one you keep promising yourself you'll deal with someday.
It's so easy to get stuck in those cycles, We cling to things that, well, they just don't really serve us anymore.
Exactly, and it's like we get so caught up in adding more and more to our lives,
Right.
More stuff, more commitments, that we forget about the whole letting go part.
It's like tending a garden, right? You can't just keep planting new seeds without weeding out the stuff that's no longer thriving. Otherwise, it's just chaos.
Love that analogy, the weeding out part. So today we're diving into all that, this whole idea of letting go as a path to, well, growth. Kind of like how trees shed their leaves every fall, not because they're giving up, but because they're actually making space for new growth.
It's funny how we often focus on adding things to our lives, right? New skills, new experiences, but we forget that letting go is just as important for growth.
It's like we're so busy trying to add more chapters to our lives that we forget to edit the ones that are no longer serving the story.
Right. And those chapters, they can really weigh us down. We're talking about those energy drains, the jobs that just deplete us, those relationships that feel more like obligations.
Okay, energy drains, that's something I think we can all relate to on some level.
Absolutely. But how do we even know when something has crossed that line from being, just challenging to being a total energy vampire?
That's a good question. Like, where do you draw the line?
Well, a lot of it comes down to tuning into your intuition, to those subtle signals your body's sending you. It's like your internal energy meter.
So it's about paying attention to how we feel.
Exactly. Notice how your energy shifts before, during, and after certain activities or interactions. Do you feel energized or completely drained? Your body's pretty wise, is always giving you clues about what nourishes you and what depletes you.
It's like learning to listen to our gut feeling, to trust those subtle cues our body is giving us.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not even that subtle. Think about it. Have you ever had a friend who constantly dumps their problems on you but never seems to want to hear about yours?
Oh yeah, I think we've all encountered that friend.
Or maybe it's a job that has you working late nights and weekends, leaving you feeling totally burnt out. These are classic examples of those energy drains. They're like those one-way streets where you're constantly giving, but you're not getting anything back.
So it's about recognizing those situations where we're pouring our energy into a bottomless pit. But how do we actually, let go of these things? Especially when it involves big changes, like ending a relationship or leaving a job. It can feel really scary.
It absolutely can. And a lot of times that fear is rooted in, fear itself. Fear of the unknown, fear of hurting someone else, fear of failing.
Yeah, it's like those fears become these invisible chains, keeping us tethered to things that really aren't serving us anymore.
And sometimes it's not even fear, it's guilt. That feeling that we should be able to fix things, that we should be able to make it work.
Like those shoulds have so much power over us. But if we can recognize them, maybe we can start to loosen their grip a little bit.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Letting go isn't about being selfish. It's actually about self-preservation. It's about honoring your needs, putting your well-being first, and creating that space for something new and better to emerge.
And that's where things get exciting, right? It's not just about letting go of what's draining us. It's about making room for the things that light us up. But how do we actually make that shift? Like, it's one thing to recognize these energy drains, but it's another to actually let them go.
Well, a good starting point is shifting our perspective. Instead of fixating on what we're losing, what if we focused on what we might gain?
So flip the script a bit.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what possibilities might open up if I create some space in my life?
So turn that fear into excitement about what might be waiting on the other side.
Exactly. But it's also important to remember that letting go, it's not a one-time event. It's a process.
You mean it takes time?
It does. It takes time to untangle ourselves from things that have been a part of our lives, maybe for a long time. And that's okay. Be patient with yourself and remember every step you take, no matter how small, it's moving you closer to a life that's more fulfilling.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to take our time to honor that process.
And as you start to let go of those things that are no longer serving you, you'll naturally create space for new experiences, relationships, opportunities that are more aligned with who you are.
It's like we're clearing out the clutter to make room for the things that truly spark joy.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really interesting concept that can help us understand why this whole letting go thing is so important for growth.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's called reciprocal energy exchange.
Reciprocal energy exchange. Okay, I've never heard of
The
that.
basic idea is that in healthy situations, there's a natural balance between giving and receiving energy.
Give and take. Got it.
Right. So think about a fulfilling job. You put in the effort, sure, but you're also gaining a sense of purpose, maybe some satisfaction, some recognition for your work, or a healthy relationship where you offer support and love and you receive it back in return. There's a flow, a give and take.
It's like when you find yourself doing something you love,
Yeah.
whether it's a hobby or spending time with people who energize you. You're putting energy into it, but you're also getting something back. So it feels sustainable. It's not just depleting you.
Exactly. And that's where the whole letting go piece comes in. When we start to notice those situations where the energy exchange feels one-sided, where we're constantly giving but not getting anything in return, that's when those energy drains really start to take their toll.
Okay, so becoming aware of those situations where we're kind of pouring our energy into a bottomless pit. But sometimes it's hard to tell, when something's just challenging versus when it's actually draining us.
It really is. And that's where tuning into your intuition becomes so crucial, paying attention to your energy levels, like we were talking about earlier.
Okay, so let's say, for example, we've got a friend who's always dumping their problems on us, or we're stuck in a job that requires us to work all hours of the night.
Classic examples of energy drains, right? You're consistently giving more than you're receiving. And after a while, that imbalance takes a toll.
Okay, that makes sense. But even when we recognize these energy drains, it can still be so hard to let go, right?
Oh, absolutely. It can be incredibly challenging, especially when we're dealing with those underlying emotions, guilt, obligation, fear.
Yeah, like we might think we're staying in a job because of the financial security, but deep down, it's actually the fear of failure that's keeping us stuck.
Exactly. Or we might stay in a relationship out of obligation when what's really driving us is the guilt of hurting someone's feelings.
So it's about recognizing those deeper emotions that are often keeping us trapped in those cycles.
Because once we bring those emotions to the surface, then we can start to address them. We can start to heal those old wounds and break free from those patterns that have been holding us back.
This is all making so much sense, but it also sounds like a lot of inner work.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, one of the most powerful tools we have is
Yes.
the art of setting boundaries.
Boundaries. Tell me more.
Boundaries are essentially limits that we set to protect our well-being, our physical, emotional, and mental health. They're about knowing what we're willing to tolerate and what we're not, and communicating those limits clearly and respectfully.
So, for example, if you have that friend who's constantly draining you with their negativity, a boundary might be limiting the amount of time you spend with them or choosing not to engage in certain conversations.
Precisely. Or maybe it's about having a direct and honest conversation with them about your needs and how their behavior is impacting you. The key is to be clear, firm, but also compassionate in communicating your boundaries.
That makes sense. But what about those situations where setting boundaries just doesn't seem to be enough? Like when we need to completely walk away from something, like a toxic relationship or a job that's just sucking the life out of us.
That's when things can get really tough, no doubt. But sometimes walking away is the healthiest, most empowering thing you can do. And in those situations, I think it's helpful to try and focus on the positive aspects of letting go, the freedom you're gaining, the space you're creating for something new. Think about it. What possibilities are opening up by releasing this thing that's no longer serving you?
So it's about shifting our focus from what we're losing to what we might gain.
Exactly. And remembering that you deserve to be happy, that you deserve to be surrounded by people and situations that uplift you, that support you.
Okay, those are some great tips for dealing with those external situations. But what about the internal stuff? All those negative thoughts and self-doubt that can keep us feeling stuck.
Ah, yes, the inner critic. That one can be a real challenge. And that's where mindfulness and self-compassion come in.
Mindfulness and self-compassion. Okay, break those down for me.
So mindfulness is about becoming more aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's just like noticing those negative thought patterns that keep replaying in our minds and then choosing to challenge them, to question them.
So it's about becoming aware of those thoughts without beating ourselves up for having them.
Exactly. And self-compassion is about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend. It's about recognizing that we're all human, that we all make mistakes, and that we're all doing the best we can with what we have.
I think sometimes we forget to be kind to ourselves, especially when we're feeling stuck or overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And that self-kindness is essential because it creates a safe and supportive space for us to let go of those old patterns and beliefs that are no longer serving us.
So to recap, we've talked about recognizing those energy drains, addressing those underlying emotions, the importance of setting boundaries, focusing on the positive, and practicing mindfulness and self-compassion.
And remembering that you're worthy of happiness.
Yes, worthy of happiness. Wow, that's a lot to take in, but it's also so empowering.
It is, and while it might seem like a lot, remember, the beauty of this whole process is that it unfolds gradually, layer by layer. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about taking those small, consistent steps in the direction of what feels good, what feels aligned, what feels authentically you.
I love that. It's about honoring our own unique journey.
Exactly. And one of the most fascinating things about this whole process of letting go is that it often brings to light the underlying emotions that have been keeping us stuck.
Oh, can you give an example?
Sure, like we might think we're holding on to a job because of financial security, but what's really keeping us there is
What? Don't leave me hanging.
fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being good enough.
Wow. Yeah, that resonates.
Or we might stay in a relationship out of obligation, but what's actually driving us is the guilt of hurting someone's feelings or maybe not living up to certain societal expectations.
It's like we're avoiding those deeper emotions because they can feel really scary and uncomfortable.
They can. But when we can learn to face those fears and work through that guilt, we can free ourselves from those patterns that are keeping us stuck.
And make room for new, healthier patterns to emerge.
Exactly. Patterns based on self-love, self-respect, and trust in our own inner wisdom.
It's like we're clearing out those mental cobwebs and making room for a brighter, more expansive way of being.
Yes. And that internal decluttering, it's so important because it allows us to show up in our lives with more clarity, more confidence, and more authenticity.
Okay, we've talked about the internal work of letting go, but I want to circle back to the practical side for a minute. We've talked about recognizing energy drains and addressing those deeper emotions. But what are some concrete steps we can take to actually let go of things, especially when it feels really hard?
Well, setting boundaries is huge, like we talked about earlier. But it's also about taking action, even if it feels small at first. So, for instance, if you're in a toxic relationship, it might be about setting those firm boundaries, limiting contact, or even ending the relationship altogether. And if it's a job that's no longer fulfilling, maybe it's about updating your resume, networking, or even having a conversation with your boss about your needs.
Okay, so it's about taking those concrete steps, even baby steps, to start building that momentum.
Exactly. And you don't need to have all the answers right away. The path will reveal itself as you move forward, as you trust the process and stay open to those possibilities.
It's not about forcing a specific outcome. It's more about creating the conditions for something new to emerge.
Precisely. And as you continue taking those steps, remember to celebrate your wins along the way. Acknowledge your courage, your resilience, your commitment to creating a life that truly feels good on every level.
Celebrating the wins, I love that. Because sometimes it's easy to get so focused on the end goal that we forget to recognize the progress we're making.
It's so true. But celebrating those wins, no matter how small they might seem, it can really boost your confidence, reinforce your commitment to the journey.
It's like giving ourselves a little pat on the back for all the effort we're putting in.
Exactly. And those pats on the back, they can make a big difference. But what about those times when we hit a snag, when we face a setback? It's so easy to get discouraged in those moments.
It's like, ugh, why am I even bothering?
Right. But setbacks are a natural part of the process. They're going to happen. But they don't have to define us. It's all about how we choose to respond to those challenges that matters.
So how do we cultivate that resilience, that ability to bounce back and keep moving forward even when things get tough?
Well, one helpful strategy is to reframe our perspective on those setbacks. What if, instead of viewing them as failures, we saw them as opportunities for learning?
It's like that saying, every stumble is not a fall, but a step forward.
Exactly. Each challenge that we overcome makes us stronger, more capable of navigating whatever obstacles come our way.
So it's about embracing the journey with all its twists and turns.
Absolutely. And speaking of embracing the journey,
Yes.
one of the most powerful ways to truly step into the art of letting go is to
Yes. Tell me.
cultivate a sense of trust in the unknown. It's about letting go of that need to control every aspect of our lives.
So it's about surrendering to the mystery of it all.
Exactly. Embracing that sense of wonder and possibility.
Okay, I can get on board with that.
Good, because when we release that tight grip on how we think things should be, we open ourselves up to a whole new world of possibilities.
It's like we're stepping out of the driver's seat and saying, okay, universe, take the wheel. Let's see where this goes.
And you know what? Sometimes the most scenic routes are the ones we didn't plan.
I love that. It's in those unexpected detours that we often discover those hidden gems, those breathtaking views.
And that's the beauty of embracing the unknown. It's an adventure filled with wonder and possibility and this amazing potential for growth. But we're going to have to pause here for now.
I know, I can't believe how quickly the time has flown by.
We've covered so much ground already, but we've got a lot more to explore, so we'll pick up right where we left off in our next part.
And we can't wait to dive even deeper into this fascinating topic. So, until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep creating space for all those amazing things that are waiting to emerge in your life.
We'll see you soon for the final part of our deep dive into the art of letting go for growth. So as we were saying before, letting go of the good stuff can be just as important as releasing the bad. It's about recognizing that what served us well in the past, it might not be aligned with who we are now. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like those books we loved as teenagers. I mean, they might hold these special memories, but as adults, they don't really resonate with us in the same way.
Exactly. And, if we hold on to them, well, it might actually prevent us from discovering new authors, new genres, books that better reflect our interests today.
I see what you mean. It's about making conscious choices about what we allow to take up space in our lives. And not just physical space, but mental space as well.
Absolutely. It's like we're curating our own life experiences. Think about it. You wouldn't want to display every single souvenir you've ever collected, would you?
Oh my gosh, no. It would be total sensory overload. You pick the pieces that spark joy, the ones that tell a story.
Exactly. And it's the same with our commitments, our relationships, even our beliefs. Letting go allows us to create a life that's more authentic, more true to who we are at our core.
Okay, so we've covered the why of letting go. But I think where a lot of people get stuck is the how. It's one thing to understand the concept, but putting it into practice, that can feel a bit daunting.
Oh, for sure. It's like, okay, I get it. I need to let go of this job that's making me miserable, but how do I actually do that?
Right. Like, where do you even begin?
Well, one strategy that I found helpful is to break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
So instead of trying to tackle the whole staircase, just focus on that first step.
Exactly. It's much less overwhelming that way. So let's say someone's feeling stuck in a job that's no longer fulfilling. A good first step might be, updating their resume.
Okay, so just a little action to get the ball rolling.
Right. Or maybe it's reaching out to a few people in their network just to explore potential opportunities. Or maybe taking an online course to develop some new skills that align with their long-term goals.
So it's about taking action, even if it feels small, to start building momentum.
Exactly. And remember, you don't need to have all the answers figured out right away.
Yeah, sometimes it's just about taking that first step and trusting that the path will reveal itself as you go.
Precisely. The path will unfold as you take those steps, as you trust the process, and as you stay open to the possibilities. And as you're taking those steps, don't forget to celebrate your wins along the way. Acknowledge your courage, your resilience, your commitment to creating a life that feels good inside and out.
I love that, celebrating the wins, because those small victories can be so powerful. They build our confidence and remind us that we're making progress.
They really do. But what about those times when we stumble? When we face a setback? Because let's be real, they're going to happen.
They're totally inevitable. And they could really knock the wind out of your sails, make you want to just throw in the towel.
Oh, for sure. But setbacks don't have to define us. It's how we choose to respond to them that matters. So how can we cultivate that resilience, that ability to bounce back and keep moving forward, even when it feels tough?
Well, one thing that's helped me is to reframe my perspective on setbacks.
Reframe? How do you mean?
So instead of viewing them as failures, I try to see them as opportunities for learning and growth.
It's like that saying, every stumble is not a fall, but a step forward.
Exactly. And, each challenge that we overcome, it just makes us stronger, more capable of navigating whatever life throws our way.
It's all part of the process.
It really is. But, sometimes even when we know all this, there's that little voice inside that creeps in and tries to sabotage our efforts.
Oh, the inner critic.
That's the one. It tells us we're not good enough,
Yeah.
that we're going to fail, that we should just stay where we are because it's safe.
Oh, yeah, I know that voice all too well. It's like it's trying to protect us, but it's actually keeping us small.
Exactly. So how do we quiet that inner critic and reclaim our power? Well, I found that mindfulness and self-compassion can be really powerful tools. Mindfulness and self-compassion. Okay, I'm all ears.
So mindfulness is all about becoming more aware of our thoughts, those inner narratives, but without judgment. And then self-compassion is about treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, even when we make mistakes. It's like being our own best friend.
So it's about recognizing those negative thought patterns and then choosing to challenge them, but with compassion, not criticism.
Exactly. Instead of beating ourselves up for our perceived shortcomings, we can acknowledge our imperfections with grace and offer ourselves encouragement and support.
This is making me realize how interconnected all of this is. Letting go, cultivating resilience, silencing that inner critic. It's all part of this larger journey of personal growth.
You're so right. It's all about creating that supportive and empowering internal environment so that we can show up in the world as our most authentic selves. And, I love that you mentioned celebrating those small wins along the way. It's so easy to get caught up in focusing on what we haven't accomplished yet, that we forget to acknowledge all the amazing things we've already achieved.
It's so true. We get so fixated on the end goal that we forget to enjoy the journey.
And those small wins, they're like little fuel injections along the way. They remind us that we're capable, that we're making progress, and they keep us moving forward,
They're like those little pats on the back and say, hey, you're doing great, keep going.
Exactly. And by celebrating those wins, we're also reinforcing this belief in ourselves, this belief that we're capable of creating positive change in our lives.
It's like we're building this inner reservoir of strength and resilience that we can draw from whenever we face those inevitable setbacks.
Exactly. And the more we practice celebrating those wins, the more we cultivate that sense of gratitude, of appreciation for the journey, even with all its ups and downs.
This is making me think about all those times when I've been so focused on what I haven't accomplished yet that I've completely overlooked all the amazing things I have achieved.
It happens to the best of us.
Right.
We get so caught up in striving for that next milestone that we forget to pause and savor the moment, to appreciate how far we've come.
It's like we need to give ourselves permission to enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of shifting perspectives, one of the most powerful ways to embrace the art of letting go is to
Yes, tell me.
cultivate a sense of trust in the unknown. It's about letting go of the need to control every little detail of our lives and embracing the mystery, the wonder of what might unfold.
It sounds amazing, but also a little terrifying. It's like stepping off a cliff and trusting that a net will appear.
I know, it can definitely feel that way. But the reality is we're never really in control no matter how hard we try. Life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and it's in those unexpected twists and turns that we often discover our greatest opportunities for growth and transformation.
So it's about embracing that uncertainty, the not knowing, and trusting that even if things don't go according to plan, we'll be okay.
Exactly. It's recognizing that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever challenges come our way, and that sometimes the most beautiful things in life happen when we least expect them.
It takes a lot of courage to let go and embrace the unknown. It's like we're stepping outside of our comfort zone and into a realm of infinite possibilities.
You got it. And you know what? That courage is often rewarded with experiences and opportunities we couldn't have even imagined. But I think we need to pause here for now.
I know. I can't believe how quickly the time has flown by.
I know, right?
Wow.
We'll have to pick up where we left off in our next segment.
But until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating space for all the amazing things that are waiting to emerge in your life.
We'll see you soon for the final part of our deep dive into the art of letting go for growth.
Welcome back to our deep dive into letting go for growth. I gotta say, even just from our conversation so far, I'm already feeling a little bit lighter, a little more energized.
It really is amazing how much energy we can reclaim when we finally start letting go of the things that just aren't serving us anymore. It's like all of a sudden you can breathe again.
Yes. It's like clearing out the cobwebs and letting the sunshine in. And, speaking of sunshine, one of the things that really stuck with me from our last chat was that whole idea of trusting in the unknown. Like really surrendering to the mystery of it all. I mean, it can feel kind of scary, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge leap of faith, but it's also incredibly liberating. When we let go of that need to control everything, to have it all figured out, that's when the real magic happens.
It's like we're trading in that limited view for this panoramic vista. We're expanding our horizons and just saying, okay, universe, surprise me. Show me what you got.
I love that. And one of the most powerful ways to cultivate that trust, that surrender, is to start tapping into our intuition, that inner voice that always knows what's best for us.
Intuition. Okay, it's something I've always struggled with, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's like, I know it's there, but I'm not always sure how to access it, how to trust it.
I hear you. It can be tricky, but one of the simplest yet most effective ways to strengthen our intuition is to just create more space for stillness, for silence in our lives.
So carving out time for those activities that really quiet the mind.
Exactly. It could be meditation, spending time in nature, journaling, anything that allows you to kind of disconnect from all the noise and just reconnect with yourself.
It's like hitting the pause button and giving ourselves permission to just be.
And when we do that, when we create that space, you might be surprised by what emerges. That inner wisdom that's always been there, but we've been too busy to hear it.
It's like we're finally tuning into the right frequency.
And the more we listen, the more we trust those whispers of wisdom, the easier it becomes to navigate life's twists and turns.
So it's about letting go of that need to control everything and trusting that we're being guided, even when we don't always know where we're going.
And sometimes the most beautiful destinations are the ones we never could have planned for.
This is making me realize that letting go isn't just about getting rid of the stuff that's weighing us down. It's also about making room for something new, something better, even if we don't know what that is yet.
Yes. It's about trusting that the void will be filled with something that truly aligns with our hearts, with our souls.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the art of letting go for growth. We've covered so much ground, and I have to say I'm feeling incredibly inspired.
Me too. It's been such a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Before we wrap things up, I wanted to share a quote that really captures the essence of what we've been talking about today. It says, "The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be discovered. The possibilities are limitless."
That's beautiful and so true. When we let go of what's holding us back, we open ourselves up to a world of infinite possibilities.
So, to everyone listening, trust your gut, create space for growth, embrace the unknown, and watch yourself blossom into the amazing person you were always meant to be.
And remember, letting go isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something extraordinary.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll subscribe and join us next time as we continue to explore these fascinating topics. Until then, keep diving deep and keep letting go.